Hour number 2 of the Art Lewis Show here on WSGW. Open phones at 989-752-6111, whatever you'd like to chat about. I'm going to start out talking about a subject none of us want to talk about, income tax and filing deadlines. There are reports out that in some cases, if you mail a paper tax return and check to the IRS, you may want to do it as early as tomorrow, because the post office system has said that it has changed some of its transportation operations so that some mail may no longer arrive on the same day it's mailed at processing facilities. And typically, your mail does not get postmarked until it goes through the processing facility, which means if the facility gets it late and the postmark is after April 15th, the IRS will count it as late. So you want to make sure if you're mailing your tax return, if you owe, make sure you get it in early if you're filing by paper. If you do it online, that's different. Your date will show and you'll be okay online. And they will, of course, automatically remove your payment from your bank account as you direct them to. But if you miss, here's the penalties. You don't talk about this very often. Failure to file is 5% of the tax owed each month, or for part of a month. The return is late up to a maximum of 25%. If your return is more than 60 days late, there's also a minimum penalty for late filing. The minimum penalty is the lesser of $525, or 100% of the tax owed. Ouch! Failure to pay, 0.5% for each month or part of a month up to a maximum of 25% of the unpaid tax from the due date of the return until the tax is paid in full. The penalty increases to 1% of the tax remaining unpaid 10 days after the IRS issues a notice of intent to seize assets. Ooh! And then there's an interest rate determined quarterly by the federal short-term rate plus 3%, charged on tax owed. Interest compounds daily. In the first 3 months of the year, the rate was 7%. So just keep in mind, be on time. If you're paying by check and sending in your return, make sure that you get it in early as tomorrow. They recommend, everybody is saying, the Postal recommends and IRS says you ought to put it in the mail at least 5 days prior to its due date, which of course is the 15th this year. And hopefully you'll get postmarked in time and you'll be on time and you won't have any issues with our friends at the IRS. But that's, boy, I tell you what, you don't want to miss, that's for sure. That's pretty steep fines when you think about it. A couple of other things happening. As you may have heard, there is a temporary, I use the word temporary, ceasefire because it's only good for 2 weeks right now anyway. And it was brokered by Pakistan and China. Pakistan and China, which is interesting. Pakistan is already entangled in its own conflict with Afghanistan. China, of course, is our chief global rival. So you ask yourself, well, why did these two countries do that? Well, from where I sit anyway, it's a selfish reason. And for China, a huge user of energy, huge industrial complex, needs that energy. They need that oil flowing. They need that oil flowing so they can keep their industries going. So if that means they have to come forward with a plan that helps both sides, they will do that to get the Straits of Hormuz opened again and get those oil tankers running full of oil, which they need. It's in their best interest to see this thing come to an end. I don't know if the 2 weeks is going to hold. I don't know what happens after the 2 weeks. But if it ends right now and nothing else takes place, other than a change of leadership and destroying 90% of their military capability, although not totally destroying it, obviously, since they're still firing missiles and still have drones and still have means. It's going to be a lot of thinking about what did we gain. And we obviously demonstrated we have the ability to knock down their military. Their early warning systems are gone. Their Navy is decimated. Many of their military facilities are decimated. So, yeah, we can do that. But the leadership change didn't mean we got a better leadership. As a matter of fact, could mean we get a worse leadership. We don't know yet. So we'll have to see how this all holds out. If Iran lives up to the agreement and lets the Straits of Hormuz get back to normal, and we get on with it, well, who knows? Are they in a worse off position? Well, yeah, they are. But can we say we won? I don't know about that. They still have the nuclear materials, still have the possibility of building nuclear weapons. I mean, and again, we don't know what they've agreed to or what they would agree to. I'm sure there will be talks continuing during these 2 weeks to try and come to a total resolution, which includes that material. I don't know that they're going to agree to give it up. Time will tell. And then what do we do if they don't? Do we go right back to bombing again? This goes back to what I said, and I've said all along. Tell me what the end game is. How do we know when it's over? Now, there's ways you can measure it, obviously. The opponent can say, I surrender, and it's over. But if they don't go that far, at what point do we say, okay, it's finished? Are we there now? I don't know. And I'm certainly not the military strategist that can know what's right and wrong and have all the answers. And none of us know what's happening behind the scenes. I mean, yeah, you see the newsreels, you hear the stories and all of that. You have no idea what happens behind the closed doors where all the planning takes place. None of us do. Because if you think the media, and I don't care whether it's the Fox side or the CNN side or anybody else in between, if you think they have all the answers and they know what happens behind all those closed doors, you're wrong. You're absolutely incorrect. You can speculate. You can say, I think this is what happens. But don't tell me you know what's happening, because you don't. Unless you're in that room. All right, take a break. Lines are open, 989-752-6111. That's the number to call. Right. All right, we're back with you here on the Art Lewis Show. Open phones this hour, and we go to him now. Carl's in Saginaw. Good morning.
Good morning, Art.
Good morning.
Last week you had a caller complaining about NATO, and one of the things he said was that NATO has never come to the aid or never helped the United States in a war. Well, that's just not true. When we invaded Iraq in 2003, that was a NATO operation, and troops from Europe and Canada fought alongside Americans and died in that war.
Yep. Yep, that's true.
Okay, well, you didn't say anything when he made that claim.
No, I think my mind was floating elsewhere at the time, but you're right.
Okay, well, so I in fact I believe that's the only time it's like Chapter 3 of the NATO Charter that if one country is attacked, all other countries are supposed to come to its aid.
Something like that.
And we did
yeah.
that after 9/11. We invoked that part of the charter.
Yeah.
And the other countries came and helped us.
Yep.
That's what NATO did.
And we certainly have done that the other way. Many times.
I'm sorry, we went to the aid of when NATO was attacked?
When NATO countries have had issues, we've been there. Look at Serbia and places. You can. There's been several over the decades.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what the organization was established for.
Yes, exactly. To stand.
I am more of a fan of NATO than others.
Okay.
I'm not as I'm not as much of a fan of the United Nations anymore, but I am a fan of NATO.
I understand that, but NATO, I think, has served us pretty well for the last 50 years or so.
Yep.
So keep that in mind. Getting to Iran, yesterday the president, and I know some people say that, well, it's just his style, but he made this claim that he would wipe out a whole civilization. Now, as far as I know, an American president has never said anything like that before.
But you said it. You said it right. Many would say that's his style. His style is to run his mouth. He runs his mouth a lot, and much of what he says is blowhard.
Well, yeah, but words have consequences, Art.
Yeah, I understand that, but then listen. In his lifetime, they've served him.
Served him.
If they have consequence, that'll be up to the public to determine.
Well, yeah, the consequences might be for the country, not for him.
No, well, all right, but I mean, listen, you've seen enough of him to know that's exactly how he does things. He mouths off.
No, I'm not surprised. I'm just disgusted.
Well, that's fine. You have that right. I mean, that's true. I mean, a lot of people feel that way about him.
Yes.
I mean, I've said many times I wish he'd keep his mouth shut and just get about the business of the country.
Yeah. Well, we know that's not going to happen either.
No, we don't know that. We suspect that. We don't know that.
He's going to keep his mouth shut.
Well, no. I'm talking about getting about the business of the country.
Oh, well. Yeah, remember he was going to lower prices on day one?
Yeah, we've heard all of that. Yeah, it's old news.
Yes. Okay, well, we learned in the last 5 or 6 weeks that Iran can take punch, and they're still standing. Apparently, Trump thought after a week or two of bombing, they were just going to fold, and it was going to be easy. This whole thing was going to be easy. That's what his gut told him.
Yeah, they still have the capability to strike. There's no doubt about that. But not with not with the fury they've had in the past. I mean, we have decimated their navy.
And the uranium is still there, and the regime is still there.
Yep.
So A lot of people are asking,
Well,
are we better off than we were?
we'll measure that when it's all over. When
I
it's
guess we
totally
will.
all over, then we take that measure, and then we can answer that
Well,
question.
except Hegseth said this morning, we're going to be hanging around. That's his words. What
does
this
that
could
mean?
drag out, Art.
What does that mean? We're going to
Well, I don't
we're going
know.
to have a naval flotilla in the Straits of Hormuz, which we've always had anyway. What does that mean?
So, I don't know. Is it going to be a forever war? We're
Well,
going to be
you
hanging around?
You said it. You said it best. You don't know, and I don't know either.
Yeah. I don't think
anybody
Trump
does.
knows.
I don't think anybody
No.
does. Well, no, till it happens.
No.
All right,
That's what happens when you start
Got
a
it.
war.
got to run. Take care.
Okay.
Bye now. And we'll say hello to Sally in Saginaw. Sally, good morning.
Hi, I'm not going to talk about politics.
All right, good.
Yeah, I'm talking about the guest that you just had from the police department.
Matt Giroux,
And
yes.
I have a couple things to say. First of all, I was a teacher. I taught at North Intermediate and Arthur Hill.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, I'm not sure when it was changed, but we had police officers, at least one, in the schools,
Mm-hmm.
which was very comforting.
Yep.
And then somebody decided that wasn't it was too expensive or something, and then we ended up with sort of the rent-a-cop type of thing, and they tried, I'm calling about also. Oh, nobody mentioned also in our beginning having the police officer with the dog was the dog and the handler that went to 9/11.
Joaquin, we mentioned him. Yeah.
Oh, did you? I missed that
Joaquin
then. Okay,
Guerrero.
good.
Joaquin Guerrero
Yeah.
was his name with Rookie. Yep.
Rookie, yes. He was a hero.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them.
Yep.
Well, okay. They're talking. He was talking about their canine deal. Now, I get DirecTV, but if you get another system and it has a UPTV section, there's it was 7 seasons of and they're in Newfoundland. That's how they call it, Newfoundland, and it's Hudson and Rex.
Oh, two police
And it's
dogs?
all about, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Rex is the police dog, and then Hudson is his handler.
Yeah.
And it's 7 seasons.
Wow.
I think
Wow. It's a long
Yeah,
series.
yeah. And so if you can get that, it is on DirecTV on channel 338. But then if you have other deals, but
Yeah.
again, it's yeah.
What's the
And,
network? What's the network called?
UPTV.
UPTV. Okay. I'll have to look
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
Very
Yeah, and I think the series ended. Well, 7 years. They had 7 seasons,
good. Yeah, maybe they got
and
reruns.
then I was,
Maybe they have reruns.
Yeah, they do.
Good.
Right, but the last season is when because they at one of the ends of one of the shows that they had on, they showed in other words, the dog died.
Oh, and the
The dog that was the
And a lot
playing
of times
Rex.
a lot of times they'll do big ceremonies for that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, they
All
didn't do that because they didn't have him
Yeah.
the dog dying on the
Right.
deal. But I mean, it was the credits at the end.
All right.
But it's Hudson and Rex.
I'll look for it. Sally, appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Take
Bye
care.
bye.
Bye now. All right, we'll be back. Tim, hang on. We'll get to you next.
When it's time to transform your home's
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW, and let's return to our phones. Tim is in Hemlock. Tim, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Art. I wanted to talk about your comments on Iran and then NATO. NATO not defending us. The only time Article 5 was ever issued when we were attacked, and NATO went to bat for us. As a matter of fact, more Danish troops per capita died in the Iraq War than our troops.
Yeah, post
So, I mean, they
9/11.
were right there fighting.
Right, post 9/11.
Me? Yeah, 9/11.
Right.
And that was the only time Article 5 was invoked. And then on Iran, what's this talk of a regime change? There hasn't been a regime change. You mentioned it, and I agree with you. We don't know what's in there. Well, we do know one thing. It's the same, well, other than the guys that were killed, it's the same government.
Yeah.
Same people, the same method of defining who leads.
Regime
The
change
same
would
attitude.
have to come from the people.
True. And the only way that's going to happen, and I sure hope it's not the way that I read, like you said, you got to be careful with what you read and what you watch. But if we're arming the Kurds, that just means civil war.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen. But so I don't know what we've accomplished. I have no idea. The Straits of Hormuz were open before we attacked, and now we're negotiating for them to be open. So I have no idea what we've done. We haven't done the regime change. Obviously now Iran has serious input on what to do with the Straits. That wasn't recognized before.
Oh, it was recognized. They didn't exhibit it
De facto. It was de facto recognition.
They didn't exhibit it in any meaningful way, but occasionally they would harass shipping, and occasionally you heard about it in the news. So they did have influence over the Straits before it.
Well, yeah, they had.
Now
influence,
it's just well
now we're gonna have to
publicized.
find out. It was de facto. Now we got to see what's coming out of this. But in any event, I'm glad we didn't. I mean, that was crazy talk. Annihilate an entire society.
Yeah,
And I don't want to hear from Trump people that you got to realize that's how he talks. I'm tired of hearing that. This is the leader of the United States of America, and he represents us. And I'd like it to be far more diplomatic and appropriate. But don't
hold your breath.
Don't hold your breath. I got that. On NATO is so significantly important to our defense. We're not just defending Europe; they're helping us defend ourselves as well. And of course, we pay more because our economy's larger. And
it's not a question of paying more. That wasn't the problem with NATO. Not that we paid more; it's they weren't paying their share. That was a problem. We pay more because we're bigger. Maybe that's true, but they weren't paying what they were supposed to be paying. Now they are.
And I'll give you a history. I'll give you a history of this. Obama negotiated that. Presidents before him stressed they need to pay more. It didn't just happen with Trump. But I'll tell you who got him to pay more, and you know this too. It's a guy named Vladimir Putin.
Wow.
Germany decided, holy cow, we better start building more weapons.
Yeah, they need to build up
our military.
Right, build their own protection.
Right, but that includes us too. I mean, we have the bases and everything else. By the way, one last thing.
Real quick.
I was a probation officer in the 80s, and the Saginaw Police, I think that was a topic. They had liaison officers in every school.
Right.
I don't know what they have now.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Art.
All righty.
Appreciate talking to you.
Take care, Tim. Bye-bye now. All right, Joe, hang on. We'll get to you next right after these notes.
At Crystal Clear Hearing in Sac.
All right, we're back with you here on WSGW. Get back to our phones with Joe in Bay City. Joe, good morning.
Good morning, Arthur. How are you doing today?
Doing well. Hope you are.
All right, very good. Well, hey, I've got one heavy and two lights, so I'll start with the heavy.
Okay.
I'll talk about the Iran war and how my opinion is that if we didn't drop another bomb or do another thing, it's been successful because, quite frankly, and now it's my opinion, I'm not an expert, but we went in there for one reason. The main reason was that they could not build a nuclear bomb, all right? And as for the time being, I think that's obviously been successful. Now, anything that happens beyond that, that's good for not only us but for the world is, I would say, a bonus. And as far as regime change,
here's the only caveat to that, and I'm not disagreeing with you, But the caveat is, if you leave them with the fissionable material and the ability to build the bombs, you're exactly where you were when you started.
Oh, I agree.
Now,
And I
they would
be
have
part
to
of the
rebuild. They would have to rebuild a lot of facilities to do it. I think that's correct.
You're right, Art. But part of the next 2 weeks, I'm hoping this works out. Who knows if it will? We don't know.
Right.
Let's hope. We've got to hope that maybe it will. No more bombs be dropped.
Yep.
But part of the agreement has to be that the nuclear or uranium has to be found and taken away. No question about it. And maybe someday, the regular young people there in Iran will get a chance to maybe, stand up. It's pretty tough on them now because you stand up, you get shot down or hung.
All
So
right.
it's not very easy on them. But
Go to
anyway,
the lighter topics.
well, one thing about another real quick on the heavy again. I'm getting really tired of people who just can't give Donald Trump one grain of success, no matter what he does. Here what we've done is not just for us, but for the world. I mean, that's a terrible country.
Yeah.
Those are terrible people
Right.
that run that country. Anyway, two light things. One, Hudson's and Rex. We don't have cable or anything. We've been cut free for 28 years. But on channel 49-7 on a regular TV over the air, they had all 7 years of their episodes that they showed.
Good.
And now they have new episodes, but it's not on regular TV yet. It's on streaming or something else. So
All right.
And so that's 49-7.
Good.
And this other light thing that's not really light, but I just want to remind people in the Bay City School District, the school district is trying to sneak by a $72 million bond past you. Please look into it and find out what's going on before you vote.
Well, sneak to it may be a kind of a strong way of putting it because you know about it. Others know about it.
Oh.
And I've heard about
There's
it.
only one way I knew about it. My wife votes by mail, and she got
I know,
a
that's what
ballot,
you
and
told
it's
me.
on the ballot.
That's what you
right.
told me.
That's the only way I knew, and her
Yeah.
both. Yep. Anyway, so hey, have a great day, and
All right.
let's hope the next 2 weeks are productive and work out well for everybody.
Good enough. Thanks, Joe.
Okay.
Take care. Bye-bye
Yeah.
now. And we'll talk to Mark this morning. Good morning, Mark.
Good morning, Art. How are you, sir?
Good.
Hey, as far as the end game, we don't know that yet. But what we do know is that we're not getting threats as far as death to America. You talk about the rhetoric of Donald Trump. For 47 years, we've heard nothing but that regime say death to America, and we just shrug our shoulders and we move on. Since this conflict, they have launched long-range missiles on other countries who were not even involved or didn't throw a bomb at them. So if we're in NATO, they were attacked in this conflict as well. Under the previous administration, the way they fought was to drop leaflets and hope they get paper cuts on a strongly worded letter. This administration flies airplanes and drops bombs. So you're changing the what I would call the seriousness of our administration as opposed to the previous administration, which I think we got their attention now for negotiations.
Well,
to
that may
proceed.
be. That may be. We'll find out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And congratulations, Jonathan Dent.
Oh.
He got engaged.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
engaged, right, yeah.
Yeah,
He's sitting
yeah.
in the newsroom. I don't know if he's listening, but he's sitting in the newsroom. So
Yeah, well, good for
we'll
him.
pass it
Happy-
on.
All right,
All
sir.
right,
Take
thanks.
care.
Take care.
Yep. Bye.
And let's talk to Michael in West Branch. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Art. How are you?
I am well, thank you. Hope you are.
Great. Just to bookend what Mark commented about, I guess a little contrast. What did the Biden administration say, and what did Kamala Harris say? They said don't. Those people were an embarrassment, total embarrassment. At least Trump's bravado, his panache, his rhetoric gets action. We wouldn't be at the negotiating table if he didn't throw all that out there. You know, it's worked for him in business. It's worked for him in the presidency. Again,
all I
administration-
remember in the previous administrations is paper cash getting onto airplanes flying it into
Exactly,
Iran. I'm going,
exactly,
what
and
is
that's what
that all
people are
about?
forgetting, Art. They're not recalling that. They basically funded their nuclear program. And again, you say don't, and Biden lets Ukraine be invaded by Russia and sat on his backside. I mean, come on, these they're not going to do that when Trump's in there. It's not going to happen the rest of his term. And it probably won't happen when Vance is in there.
Yep.
Anyway, that's my hope. Have a great day, Art.
Yep, you too. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right, that'll do it for calls, and we'll get ready for Focus. But again, for those of you that didn't hear it this morning, our very own Jonathan Dent announced his engagement this morning and how he set it up and pulled the surprise and did it all. So congratulations to Jonathan and his lovely fiancée, and let's hope for much happiness in their lives together. All right, we will take a last break, come back, close out, tell you what's ahead on Focus.
Hi, I'm Jen.
And I'm Kevin.
We
At noon on 100.5 and 790 News Radio WSGW.
All right, that'll do it for the Art Lewis Show for this Wednesday. Back tomorrow with lots more. Stick around for Focus. We're going to learn about the GLB Job Fair at Delta College coming up soon. Before that, though, news from CBS and the local report with Jonathan Dent. I'm Art Lewis, and we'll be back with Focus.
Broadcasting from the